Alright everyone, I like a good meaningless time of virtue signaling myself when you change your Twitter icon to black. It's basically a way of thinking that you're accomplishing something. You're showing solidarity. A lot of it is like middle-class box wine Karens. They want a virtue signal about how woke they are, but they're terrified of the idea of actually going outside into a situation that might devolve into an actual riot or something like that. So they're all locked in their houses with their Elizabeth Warren brand Chardonnay, and they think that they're going to change the world by participating in hashtag Blackout Tuesday or whatever the fuck it was. They're really not accomplishing anything, they're just making a jackass of themselves. But even more fake woke bullshit is coming from a bunch of corporations. Now keep in mind, some of the corporations that right now are grandstanding and saying, we stand in solidarity against police brutality, hashtag Black Lives Matter. A lot of those corporations engage in, allegedly, according to the BLM types, discriminatory hiring practices. Now that, of course, in many cases is not actually the case. It's a case of demographics locally. For instance, if you have a community that's 95% white, saying that it's discriminatory for the workers there to be 95% white, that's really kind of nonsensical, and you get into these little spats over demographics, and people don't understand statistics. So basically, depending on their political affiliation, they either confirm or deny what their preconceived notions are, depending on what they happen to believe in, of course. Again, the letter after their name sometimes plays a role in that. So does the color of their skin. But when corporations are grandstanding like this is literally just free advertising for them. And, woe unto the corporation that doesn't participate, because then they'll get proclaimed to be not woke, and obviously their CEO must be a Nazi, and so people should boycott him. The fact is that people that are participating in this sort of thing, they're not actually accomplishing anything. The fact that Microsoft or Apple or Bethesda or YouTube or Twitter or any of these things would change their icon color and put out a family-friendly sounding woke post for the millennial crowd, it'll sell them some more units. That's the whole fucking goal. It's especially funny when it's an abusive corporation. Like, imagine Apple. Apple has basically slave labor in China, where kids work 10-hour shifts 6 days a week and have suicide nets around their dormitories because of the constant risk of people jumping in despondency. They literally support communism by doing so. They have absolutely no environmental or worker safety standards in these places. And then they create an overhyped, overpriced garbage product that's basically, ironically, a Chinese-style knockoff of better technology that just has rounded corners and bright colors. And that company's really, really concerned about racial justice and police brutality. It's hysterical to see companies that will do hefty business in a place like China, where, what happens when you protest there? It doesn't matter if you're part of the accepted ethnic Han majority, by the way, they'll still crush your skull. You get thrown in the fucking gulag. You get thrown in prison. Maybe you get killed by the police in some of these countries. It is very funny to see, therefore, a company that does most of its business there, offshores its money through China, and uses sort of their slush fund system to hide its own money from the U.S. tax system, then proclaiming that people in the U.S. are being abused and how racist we are. Earth to everybody else. The United States is not an overtly racist country. No, absolutely not. There's more ethnocentricity going on in China. There's more police brutality in China. Why aren't these people protesting? What, are their lives worth less? What, Chinese lives don't matter, I guess. By the way, the lives of all those killed by rioters apparently don't matter either. Now, George Floyd does, because he was killed by a cop. But if someone's a retired cop that gets killed doing private security work, the only one who talks about it is Donald Trump. And me, of course, in another video today. I get tired, though, of the virtue signal. And the funny thing is that the people that are taken in by this tend to be, like, supposedly more intelligent. Like, they're I went to community college, I've got a degree in women's studies, I'm really smart. Okay, well, if you're so smart, why is it that it's so easy to rope-a-dope you into buying a fucking product by a for-profit, capitalistic, supposedly, of course, in name only, entity? Why is it so easy to get you to shell out money for the extra scoop of Coca-Cola Company Ben & Jerry's ice cream? Why is it so easy to get you to buy the $1,000 crappy shit phone that you use that spies on you? Why is it so easy to get you to make a bunch of dumbass TikTok videos? If you're so intelligent, if you're so enlightened, and you're so much better than somebody like me for disagreeing with you, of course. And by the way, Don't the leftists find it a little bit odd that every abusive corporation in the United States is siding with them? Don't you think that there might be a reason for that? Maybe they like the chaos. Maybe it makes them money. Because as long as there's something that people are antagonized over, if you take a clear side, you can build greater brand loyalty with the side that you've taken. By the way, this also creates a equal and opposite force and opportunism among right-wing groups. Let me explain. The handful of groups that say, fuck you, Gold Line or something, they then get more business among people that think the wokeness is bullshit. Of course, I happen to agree with them. It's still for-profit grandstanding. Here, it would be easy for me to say, oh, you know what I'm going to do? I'm going to try to appease some leftists today and convince them that I'm not an evildoer. I'm going to have a black icon on Twitter. Pure grandstanding. Or you could do the opposite. You see some of these people, they're like, well, white lives matter, and so they have like a white icon, and there's like White Out Thursday or something. It's the same fucking shit. You're not accomplishing anything. There's no protest there. Nobody cares. And by the way, decreasingly, do people even care what the corporations do? Like, if someone is really, really riled up by a political event. If someone's like, oh my god, police brutality, racial injustice, it's such a terrible time, I need to do something. The corporations are playing up to that group of people that's got themselves literally twisted up into a knot like a pretzel. Funnily enough, half of these people were saying that you need to obey the lockdowns. Protesting is not an essential activity, they said back in April when people were protesting lockdowns. Now that they're rioting, protesting, of course, is sacrosanct, and it's okay for it to be violent, too. It was funny, there was a Slate post earlier where they're literally glorifying violence. That's funny, Twitter's not censoring them. I wonder why there's no warning on that post saying, Twitter disagrees with this. Our terms of service disavow violence, but we think that it's important for the public to see this violent media firm, Slate. They're never gonna fucking do that, because Jack Dorsey's a fucking twat. That's basically why Twitter's become useless and vestigial for many purposes. It has. It's a notification machine and a convenient way to receive basically the equivalent of emails in a better format. And that's basically what it boils down to. It's funny to watch, again, it's funny to watch multinational corporations. They fund war. I expect Raytheon to say, oh, Black Lives Matter. They fund war. They use sweatshop labor. They have literal slaves overseas. They take a dump on the environment all the time. But they're woke. They care about people, disenfranchised inner-city black people with no money to buy their products. We care so much about them. Apple really cares about that dude who makes $12K a year at his part-time burger-flipping job in a slum somewhere. No, they fucking don't. They don't give a fuck about you. And for anyone who proclaims themselves to be a leftist, by the way, to take that seriously is hysterical. To their credit, some of them see through it. To their credit, some of them are calling out the corporations. And you should. They're not capitalistic entities half the time. They're corporatist entities. I've explained that before. They're artificial, often vertical monopolies propped up by government power and resources. It's not capitalism. It's centralism. Sort of a weird, ugly hybrid. It's basically socialism that takes the word capitalism and hides behind it. That's basically what corporatism boils down to. That's about all. Peace out.